Hey guys, this week I was sent an excellent article from, thanks Ryan, regarding, or titled, Marcelo Garcia is the exception, not the rule. And it's by Jared Loper from Jiu Jitsu Times. And this really addresses pretty well the idea of BJJ and lifting weights not being compatible. Just to kind of, I'll just read you the opening paragraph here real quick. So when it comes to the idea of lifting weights to help improve BJJ, people tend to lose their minds. The most anti-lifting groups, at least anecdotally, seem to be those from a Gracie, Pedro Sauer lineage. And the claim always seems to revolve around the street, or some such nonsense that has been repeated so often that it has lost its meaning. What is the mythical the street? And why does strength suddenly become useless there? Lifting weights is good for jiu-jitsu whether a person trains for sport or for self-defense. And the person he goes back to here the most is Marcelo Garcia. And I've actually seen a video on Marcelo, talking about lifting, and his whole premise seems to be, as long as you train in your jiu-jitsu school as hard as possible, everything will take care of itself. That's going to give you the end best results. But we'll kind of address that in a little bit. One of the points Jared makes is talking that it's such a myth and it's such garbage. I don't know how many times it has to be debunked, but apparently it does. Is that if you lift weights, you're going to put on too much bulk, too much mass, and you're not going to be able to proficiently do jiu-jitsu. And I've heard this in so many sports. It's absolutely absurd. This used to go on actually with basketball, and I mean, so you look at old videos. Say if you're watching the NBA channel, like retro games and so forth. Let's face it, the guys back in the day were were pretty thin. I mean, they're tall, thin, lanky guys. And then something happened. Probably late 80s, early 90s, where it's like the guys started hitting the weights. And I mean, if you see NBA players now, these guys are massive. I mean, they look like NFL players. You can easily confuse an NBA player and with an NFL player. And I'm not just talking like LeBron James either. One of the huge names. It's crazy as it sounds, but someone who's a small guy in the NBA, like Steph Curry. God, if Steph Curry walked into your gym, he's probably going to be maybe not the most physically imposing, but he's 6'3". Okay, he's tiny on the court. He's tiny. He looks this minuscule compared to all those monsters out there in the NBA these days. But for so long, that was the argument that that basketball players made. It's like, oh, I don't want to get too bulky. I can't. I won't be able to perform well on the court if I put on too much size, and I'll lose flexibility, mobility, those type of things. I mean, just check out the speed of the game, guys. It's amazing. The level of plays has gone tremendous. We're seeing not just individual players, but the team speed. The guys obviously like Golden State Warriors or NBA champs. Your San Antonio Spurs for a decade been dominant. It's unbelievable. So I mean, lifting weights. If you didn't lift weights now in the NBA, I mean, you'd be screwed. Your body you would get mauled by the end of the season. There's no doubt about it. And one of the arguments really hit home that Jared made here. It's talking about you're going to increase your risk of injury because lifting weights is a dangerous thing. This is real nonsense because I know for myself now. I'm not the youngest person in the world, and I have to lift now to be able to do functional things. And if I wasn't able to lift, there is no way in hell I'd be able to perform in jiu-jitsu. I do it for a lot of my training personally now is dedicated towards injury prevention, and also in strengthening weak areas that to help improve my jiu-jitsu, in particular my lower back. I've had some back issues in life, and I always have to do core exercises and to keep me on the mat. And a lot of these do involve using weights as well. So without weights, I couldn't perform jiu-jitsu. Just hands down, no. As far as injuries lifting weights, oh my God, I've been lifting for decades now, and Injuries, man. I could think of twice that I've injured myself lifting weights, and in the entire time, and nothing horribly serious either. You get injured playing the sports we do. Jiu-jitsu is not a safe sport. We know that. Okay, that's, we all got into it knowing it. So whatever. But lifting weights, if done properly, is a very, very safe thing to do. So let's go back to Marcelo Garcia here. He does advocate. I'm not sure he advocates. I mean, I've seen him on video actually talking to his students about just going at it as hard as you can, and that's really all you have to do for training jiu-jitsu. Here's a problem, and I think Marcelo does not recognize his own genius. Okay, the things that his attributes that he has that you don't have and I don't have. Okay, I mean, I look at my whole gym, and it just, we have some, obviously, like every gym, we all have, wherever we train, some people that are really above everyone else. Just people that just have a real mind for jiu-jitsu. And obviously, if you seen Marcelo Garcia roll, the interesting thing I think anytime I've watched him roll is I watch from when he submits someone, and then you can go back and figure out that submission wasn't just some lucky thing. He set that up like 4 moves prior to the submission. Okay, that's genius. That's athletic genius, and you probably don't have it, and I know I definitely don't have it. And the problem is, I think people they don't recognize their own genius, and I've seen this many times, I guess, in life with things. I remember early on, it's kind of keeping in the same vein. Lawrence Taylor, the great linebacker for the New York Giants, and he spoke about, I remember, like, he was pretty open that he hated lifting and never did. He always skipped, and pretty much when he became an all-pro player, he was just like, screw you, what are you going to do, not play me? So he just kind of did his own thing. And not lifted, but he had his own just athletic genius in his sport of football, just like Marcelo has in jiu-jitsu. I remember one time I saw an interview. Lawrence Taylor was speaking about watching his son play football and how it was just driving him crazy. It was like his son played this linebacker as well, and he was describing the situation. He's like, yeah, when the near side guard comes out on the middle linebacker, and the fullback comes through the B gap, and the backside guard loops around to try and hook the defensive tackle, and the tackle out here breaks out. He goes, of course, you have to take the B gap. It's like, that happens in a millisecond, all those things. You know what? I played linebacker through my first 21 years of life, and I can't read things that quickly, okay? He is an athletic genius. It just makes sense to him. He can read things spot on, okay? So that just an example of intelligence and in athleticism that not all of us share. So a lot of times, it's as crazy as it sounds, but the worst people to get advice from are your heroes, are the best in the sport. I mean, there's a reason that the best trainers never seem to be Hall of Fame athletes, okay? Whatever trainers they may be, whether it be Olympic lifting trainers, whether they be the strength coaches for NFL teams. I mean, if you look at these guys' resumes, none of them were the top of any of those sports, okay? I just don't think the extreme geniuses and typically the top level people recognize their own intelligence, and they think that everyone has it in them, and they could it's just a matter of bringing it out, where it's clearly not the case. And because I like to use really horrible analogies in my videos, let's think of one here. Just about people not recognizing their own attributes and stuff. This is like going up to Leo DiCaprio or someone like that and saying, hey Leo, hey man, give me some advice about how I can, get some women. So And Leo's like, okay, yeah, let me tell you what I did last weekend when I was in Monte Carlo. I entered a club, and I walked around the club. I found the 3 most beautiful women there, and I said, okay, why don't you be 11 o'clock? You over there, you could be Miss Midnight, and you, how about you be 1 a.m.? And then you'd be like, oh wow, that's some great advice. Okay, yeah, you're the best, man. I obviously I should be listening to you. This is what I should be doing. I mean, you're the one that women seem to want, that like and adore and want to get with. And so yeah, I'm just gonna take your advice and do what you do. Let's face it, guys. You do not have the same attributes as Leo DiCaprio. Okay, he's a movie star. He's famous, obviously, being a movie star. He's he's very wealthy. He's very well known. He's very handsome. Okay. Most likely, maybe you're lucky and just be in handsome, or maybe you worked hard and you're very wealthy. Whatever. Okay. You might have one, maybe possibly 2 of the attributes he has. But even if you have only, say if you have 2 of those, say you're handsome and wealthy, go ahead and still, I dare you, try that at a club. Okay. Alright, what's going to happen? You're going to be wearing all those women's drinks all over your shirt. So make sure you wear black so it's not as noticeable. Okay? The other thing is too, you're probably going to have about 5 300-pound bouncers helping you to the door who really don't give a fuck how much jiu-jitsu you know. When you put that much size and mass and strength and intolerance for bullshit, you're going to be going out the door. That's it, guys. Appreciate you watching, and as Jared indicated in his great article, which I will link below, is lifting weights is only going to help improve your game. There isn't any sport I've ever done, and I've done tons, where lifting hasn't helped either the sport just making me stronger, or it helps prevent injuries if done right. Okay, that's why it's so important for good technique, just like jiu-jitsu in strength training. So. Alright guys, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, please subscribe here, hit the subscribe button, and we'll talk to you soon. Os.